Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is your host Thomas Siri from On the Hot Podcast. Today, I have some bonus content for you guys. The bonus content we'll be covering today will be in the sport of football, inside of college football. And today, I'll be sharing my thoughts on Nick Saban retiring from college football. So it's been a hectic week throughout the NFL and college football with head coaches either retiring, resigning, or parting ways with their organizations. In the NFL, we've seen the great Bill Belichick part ways with the New England Patriots, Robert Kraft and company. Then you look at what's going on in Seattle with Pete Carroll, a legend himself as a head coach, parted ways with the Seattle Seahawks. And then in college football, we seen the GOAT Nick Saban retire from college football. So what we saw from Nick Saban retiring caught me off guard. To me, he's the greatest football coach of all time, greatest college football coach of all time. 28 years of greatness by Nick Saban. His legacy will never be duplicated. To me, he's the greatest college coach of all time, whether it's college football, college baseball, college basketball. Nick Saban is that guy, and he's in the conversation for being one of the greatest coaches in all of sports history. So, to me, Nick Saban will always be remembered as the GOAT of college football. And he will go down as one of the greatest coaches in sports history. His resume speaks for itself. He won a total of 7 national championships, 6 with Alabama, 1 with LSU. He won a total of 5 SEC Coach of the Year awards and has over 200 career wins, 297 career wins. Never had a losing season in his illustrious 28 years of coaching college football. Nick Saban's career and his legacy will never be duplicated again in college football. And I really believe that the NIL deals is the reason, and the transfer portal is the reason what drew Nick Saban into retirement, why he wanted to ride off into the sunset. Because for the good or the bad, college football is changing with the NIL deals that college athletes receive, or the ability for them to transfer into the transfer portal if they're not liking what they're doing at their respective program. They can jump into the portal and go elsewhere whenever they want. And these are the things that could have possibly drove Nick Saban into retirement. He no longer has the top control over these top recruitments coming into college football. Not with these NIL deals that programs could throw out to upcoming rising stars that are coming from high school, throw them money to come to their program instead. It wasn't like that when Nick Saban was recruiting the top tier talent in the SEC conference. And I do believe this is a reason. And the transfer portal as well. If a player doesn't like what they're receiving at their respective program, if they're not getting enough playing time, if they're not feeling like they're developing in the program for the better, they can transfer and go elsewhere and help another top tier program rise to the occasion and maybe be the missing piece to their puzzle in the program that they're building for championship aspirations. So I do believe that Nick Saban being on a playing field with other powerhouse programs that are being built in college football, and him being on the same playing field with the NIL deals and the transfer portals happening, I think this is the reason what drove Nick Saban into retirement. Because it's an even playing field now. I'm not taking anything away from Nick Saban's legacy. Like I just said, 7 national championships speak for itself. But when you have what Nick Saban was doing and how the dynasty was going, there was no one really to stop him in college football until other programs had the NIL deal to help their programs out, or the transfer portal to help their programs out, to make sure that the other powerhouse programs were on the even same playing field as Nick Saban. Because if Nick Saban wanted to keep coaching, he could obviously do that. And to his worst season in college football and his illustrious career, it was this year. The program in Alabama didn't look like how it was supposed to this year, but they found a way. And you do that when you have a great coach in Nick Saban. You find a way. They had the quarterback carousel going of Jalen Milroe and several others playing at the quarterback position this year. They had an off year. And what they do in their off year, they beat Georgia in an SEC championship game, the team that has not lost in 2 years in college football. They were back-to-back national champions. Could have easily went on to win their 3rd national championship in a row this year in college football. But Alabama was the team to finally beat them, a team that hasn't lost in 2 years. And when you could do that, and you are just a possession away, losing to Michigan in overtime and the Rose Bowl, and your worst year, you could go on. Nick Saban could go on for as long as he wanted to, but he decided to go and leap and ride off to the sunset. And I think the way our college football is going, it was appropriate for him to retire now. So I'm never taking anything away from Nick Saban's illustrious career, but I do feel like these reasons are the reason why he retired from college football. So I'll be sharing my thoughts on the new head coach that's at Alabama. So as we see Nick Saban right off to the sunset officially retire from Alabama, there's a new coach in town, and his name is Kellen DeBoer. So how do I feel about Kellen DeBoer being the new head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide? I'm truly shocked that Kellen DeBoer is the new head coach for Alabama. Now he has some big shoes to fill, having to take the role of Nick Saban and be the next head coach of Alabama. But he did a great job with the Washington Huskies over the last 2 years, building them into a top-tier program in college football. They just won 14-1. They were just one game away from winning the national championship. Came up short against Michigan in the national championship, but they went 14-1. They did win the Sugar Bowl this year against Texas. And Kellen DeBoer has done a great job building this program from the ground up for the last 2 years in college football. And I do understand why Kellen DeBoer took this job at Alabama. He's in the SEC conference. He has better chance of landing the top tier recruits in the country, being at a powerhouse school of Alabama in the SEC conference. He has a greater chance of winning a national title more than he ever did at Washington, being a part of the Washington Huskies program. So Kellen DeBoer's leadership, his smartness is definitely going to be used very well at Alabama, and he could be well on his way to being the next great head coach at Alabama. He could win a national championship within the next 2 to 3 years. But I feel so bad for the Washington Huskies. They were just one game away from winning the national championship. A few days later, you lose your head coach that got you there, and Kellen DeBoer, and now you're seeing Michael Penix Jr. go to the NFL draft, being eligible for the NFL draft. So it's sad to be a Washington Huskies fan, but Kellen DeBoer, I think, will be just fine in the SEC conference now. He's got some competition in there, especially with Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs in the SEC conference. He's got some competition with LSU as well. He's got some competition with Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. This is not going to be an easy job. You're facing even better competition than what Washington would have faced next year, or for him being in the Pac-12 over the last few years at college football. So he has definitely some big shoes to fill. But I think this was a top tier hire by Alabama, getting a guy with great leadership and a really smart guy, and Kellen DeBoer that understands the game of football. And I think it'll do just great with Alabama's program. But that is all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. This is your host, Thomas Tyree, signing off. And I'll see you guys on next week's episode.